രാജ്യത്തിന്റെ നിയമങ്ങൾക്ക് വിരുദ്ധമായാണ് ട്വിറ്റർ പ്രവർത്തിച്ചത്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ട്വിറ്റർ ഓഫീസ് റെയ്ഡ് ചെയ്തത്. ട്വിറ്റർ മുൻ സിഇഒയുടെ ആരോപണം തള്ളി കേന്ദ്രമന്ത്രി രാജീവ് ചന്ദ്രശേഖർ. കേന്ദ്ര സർക്കാരിനെതിരെ ഗുരുതര ആരോപണവുമായി ട്വിറ്റർ മുൻ സിഇഒ ജാക്ക് ഡോർസി രംഗത്ത് വന്നതിന് പിന്നാലെയാണ് കേന്ദ്രമന്ത്രി രാജീവ് ചന്ദ്രശേഖറിന്റെ ഈ പ്രതികരണം. ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ട്വിറ്റർ അടച്ചുപൂട്ടണമെന്ന് കേന്ദ്ര സർക്കാർ ഭീഷണിപ്പെടുത്തി. കർഷക സമരത്തെ പിന്തുണയ്ക്കുന്നവരുടെയും സർക്കാർ വിമർശകരായ ചില മാധ്യമ പ്രവർത്തകരുടെയും അക്കൗണ്ടുകൾ ബ്ലോക്ക് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് നിരന്തര സമ്മർദ്ദം ട്വിറ്ററിനുണ്ടായിരുന്നു. പലതും ഭീഷണിയുടെ സ്വരമുള്ളതായിരുന്നു. ബ്രേക്കിംഗ് പോയിന്റ്സ് എന്ന യൂട്യൂബ് ചാനലിന് നൽകിയ അഭിമുഖത്തിലായിരുന്നു ജാക്ക് ഡോർസിയുടെ വെളിപ്പെടുത്തൽ. വിദേശ രാജ്യങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നോ മറ്റുമായി ഏതെങ്കിലും തരത്തിലുള്ള പ്രശ്നങ്ങൾ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ടോ, സമ്മർദ്ദങ്ങൾ നേരിടേണ്ടി വന്നിട്ടുണ്ടോ എന്ന ചോദ്യം അഭിമുഖത്തിൽ ചോദിച്ചപ്പോഴാണ് ഡോർസി ഇന്ത്യയെക്കുറിച്ചുള്ള ഈ മറുപടി പറഞ്ഞത്. എന്നാൽ ട്വിറ്റർ മുൻ സിഇഒയുടെ ആരോപണങ്ങൾ തള്ളുകയാണ് കേന്ദ്രമന്ത്രി രാജീവ് ചന്ദ്രശേഖർ. ട്വിറ്ററിന്റെ ചരിത്രത്തിലെ സംശയാസ്പദമായ സമയമാണ് ഡോർസി സിഇഒ ആയിരുന്ന കാലമെന്ന് മറ്റ് ആരോപണമാണ് മന്ത്രി ഉന്നയിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. ഡോർസി ഇന്ത്യൻ നിയമങ്ങൾ ലംഘിച്ചുവെന്നും ഇന്ത്യയുടെ പരമാധികാരത്തെ അംഗീകരിക്കാൻ ഡോർസി തയ്യാറായില്ലെന്നും രാജീവ് ചന്ദ്രശേഖർ കുറ്റപ്പെടുത്തി. അഭിഭാഷകനായ പ്രശാന്ത് ഭൂഷണാണ് ഡോർസിയുടെ വീഡിയോ പങ്കുവച്ചത്. ഇതിനു പിന്നാലെയാണ് ആരോപണങ്ങൾക്ക് മറുപടിയുമായി ബിജെപി രംഗത്തെത്തിയത്.
It is a total outright lie. Twitter is a company that believed that it was not necessary for it to comply with Indian law. Between 2020 and 2022, Twitter was violating Indian law multiple times. During that entire period, nobody went to jail, nobody was raided. A platform that abused its power, misused its power. I have already tweeted early morning on this statement by Jack Dorsey. Jack Dorsey was the CEO of Twitter during a very, very dubious period in Twitter's history. What he has said is an outright lie, and I have said that publicly, and I'm reiterating it again. Twitter is a company that believed that it was not necessary for it to comply with Indian law. It believed that it did not have to comply with Indian law and made up its rules as it went along. And the government of India has been very clear from the very beginning, for all companies that operate in India, they have to always comply with Indian law. That is point number one. Point number two, I just want to refresh Jack Dorsey's memory and certainly all your viewers that between 2020 and 2022, Twitter was violating Indian law multiple times, and it was in non-compliance several times during those 2 years, and it started complying only in June 2022. During that entire period, nobody went to jail, nobody was raided, and so Jack Dorsey, knowing fully well that Twitter did not comply with Indian law and did not face any consequence of that, is today lying and making up this story about raids and arrests. Third point, that Twitter now, it is there now in public domain that Twitter during this period was not only partisan, was behaving in an absolutely arbitrary manner, and the Twitter files that have then come out after Jack Dorsey sold Twitter has exposed Twitter to be a platform that abused its power, misused its power, and de-amplified many people, as in muted their voices, de-platformed many people, as in permanently took them off Twitter, totally in violation of Article 14 and Article 19 of our Constitution. And they did this in India, they did this in the US, and this information is now available in the public domain for everybody to read and see. And therefore, we have always maintained, the government of India has always maintained that our objectives are to ensure that the internet is safe and trusted, that every intermediary like Twitter, foreign or Indian, big or small, must be always compliant with Indian law. And our laws have very clear provisions about weaponizing of misinformation, which is what Twitter did during the entire period of 2020, where they weaponized misinformation against the Indians and the government of India, and therefore they were exposed. So therefore, today for Jack Dorsey to suddenly wake up from his slumber and to try and rebrush the history of Twitter's conduct and so far without any consequences, is to essentially say what I said in my tweet, that it is a total outright lie. Look, we have to be very clear. During COVID, India is one of the countries under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji that performed amazingly well. We used technology to protect our people. We used technology to not only identify disease but also to do 220 crore vaccination shots. And the COVID app was a very powerful enabler of that use of technology to battle COVID. There are many forces, there are many interests in the world that want to undermine COVID, create question marks about COVID, and therefore I believe yesterday's breach or alleged breach of COVID was one more instance of people trying to target the COVID app. The CERT, the Indian CERT, which is the Computer Emergency Response Team, which is the agency that is tasked by and is responsible for dealing with cybersecurity breaches, is investigating the matter. Yesterday, prima facie, they have already reported that the data that was reported by this Telegram bot was not from COVID app. It was certainly data that was either fake, false, or had been collected from some other source by some third-party threat actor, and that COVID app, as has been reaffirmed by the Health Ministry and Health Minister as well, is completely safe and secure and has not been breached. So these allegations are a continuing pattern of people trying to undermine the strong use of digital technologies in protecting our people during COVID and post-COVID. And the government of India, I can assure you, under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, is absolutely committed to ensuring that the internet and all our platforms are safe and secure for our digital Nagriks. No, look, I think the left and the CPM every day wake up and cover themselves with hypocrisy and embarrassment. When the BBC, for legitimate grounds, had a piece of content that was taken down, they screamed free speech. They screamed about a foreign channel and foreign platforms which broadcast anti-national and anti-India content. They are very happily supportive. They will buy fiber optics from China. But when it comes to protecting the free speech and the right to free expression by a Malayali journalist, suddenly they develop all these new inclinations to file cases, intimidation, threatening journalism. So I have always said that the left is an authoritarian ideology. Marxism and Marxism, as practiced by Pinarayi Vijayan, is an absolute authoritarian ideology that uses intimidation, that uses threats and fears to try and cow down journalists, cow down citizens, and this is not a sustainable model. They only wake up and talk about free speech when it suits them and when the target is the BJP or the Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. So this exposes their double standards, this exposes the hypocrisy yet again.